Oh.
Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Monday.
Yes, and it was very cold this morning.
Yeah.
I was very surprised,
Yeah.
especially since we had such a warm rain yesterday. And
then we had a cold rain last night, kind of a stormy day yesterday.
Yeah.
And but at least we avoided things like that happened in Tennessee. Gee whiz. My brother-in-law lives up there, has a place on the lake right outside of Nashville. And he said that their neighborhood was devastated. Fortunately, his house got missed, but he said several of the trees were down. He had a friend of his who had just bought a sporting boat last year, and they have no idea where it is. Said boats across the lake. He could see across the lake where they turned upside down and were up on the shore, and they were without power. They'd gotten power back yesterday about 11 o'clock. And it was just unbelievable. 6 people were killed, we know at least, in these tornadoes that touched down. And it's just, so our prayers go with them. Here we are 2 weeks before Christmas. 2 weeks from today is Christmas Day. And these people are just devastated, and some left with nothing.
Yeah, Bill.
So
weather is no joke.
Yeah, it is. So it's a little bit cooler today, but we'll take it.
Yes.
And some of the rain that we had last night, it was really windy. Got late last night when the cold rain started as that front moved through, that dropped our temperatures down by 20 degrees or so. But we're glad you're here, and thanks for tuning in. One of the things that we want to talk about this morning is it's 1 down and 2 to go when it comes to university presidents resigning in the Poison Ivy League. Elizabeth McGill at the University of Pennsylvania has stepped down, but she'll get to keep her tenured job, so she's probably not going to lose any money over this deal. They pay the president at the University of Pennsylvania somewhere in the range of $3 million a year, and that's just the base salary. No, God knows what else or other perks go along with that. But I don't know how you can survive on money like that these days, especially with Bidenomics. But I guess she's going to be struggling because she has tenure, and so she's going to be a tenured professor. So she's still going to be spilling her bills to students up there.
We'll see how long that lasts. I know a lot of people are really upset about what happened at the hearing last week. They were going to have a board meeting yesterday to probably get rid of her. That's probably why she resigned instead. I do think that a lot of these university professors were only in these seats for less than 2 years. One of them, I think it was MIT. She's only been there since July. So there's a high turnover rate in these roles for some reason. I wonder why. I
don't know. But the Harvard professors have gotten together. About 300 of them have signed a petition saying, please don't resign for the Harvard president and President Gay, and maybe more ways than one. Nevertheless, she probably will not be resigning.
We'll see, because I will say that where the money comes from in Harvard, there are a lot of Jewish contributors there. So they do contribute a lot of money to these universities, and I do think that does make an impact. Unfortunately, money is basically the root of everything.
They still have a nice little nest egg. Of course, one of the things they said the University of Pennsylvania what tipped the scale there was one of their donors and loyal alums withholding a $100 million check. But in this day and age, that's not as much money as you might think. For a university when they're getting money from there was one expo that Qatar is donating hundreds of millions of dollars to them, which is one of the biggest anti-Jewish states in the Middle East.
Yeah, and I think, Bill, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because I do think that Congress is also threatening to take away some of the contributions that our tax money actually goes to them.
Federal funds.
So,
and they ought to.
Yes, they should.
This reminds me of the time that when I was at Ole Miss, we had the Black Student Union that decided they came up with all their demands. One of them was to have an all-black dormitory. and the housing authority director said, "Good idea," except if the federal government found out that we had a segregated dorm on this campus, especially only 6 years after this is about 6 years after the James Meredith riots and things over the first black to go to the University of Mississippi, said if they found out we had a segregated dorm on this campus, they take our federal funds like that.
Yeah, and just interesting how this is all playing out. I do think that we'll see. I honestly think we'll see more resignations, and I do think this is going to make other universities a little bit more careful about how they approach some of these topics.
The disgusting thing is that all the anti-Semitic things that are going on campus, and these characters couldn't answer the question on whether or not is this talking about a genocide, is that hate speech or whatever. Well, it depends on the context. Excuse me. On any of these campuses these days, if you call somebody by the wrong pronoun, that's subject to getting dismissed. This is disgusting. And what was even more disgusting was Saturday Night Live this weekend. That used to be once upon a time was kind of funny.
I don't remember those times.
I know you don't. But when Daryl Hannah was doing Bill Clinton, that was hysterical. He was terrific, but it started dissolving when they got when they started doing the Donald Trump impression. It was just god awful, and it's gotten worse ever since. But they're making fun of Elise Stefanik over the weekend. We can't show it to you because of some stupid copyright law. Everybody else can show it, but we can't for whatever reason. But they're making fun of Elise Stefanik with the questioning, and how do you do that? And why would the National Barak Channel allow it? Well, I guess I answered my own question. But this is pathetic. What's going on and what is happening from the left? These aren't liberals. This is the left. These people are communists.
Well, and I think, Bill, there is hope though, because they are experiencing extreme outrage over their decision to do the bit on Elise Stefanik. People are disgusted by it, and I don't think it went over well.
No, it didn't.
So Steve Statton's with us this morning. He said, "Good morning, 2 weeks till Christmas. If she had an R by their name, they would lose everything. Then again, if they had an R, they wouldn't be in this shape."
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Pretty much. But last night on Life, Liberty, and Levin, over the weekend on the Fox News channel, John Ellis was on. He is a distinguished professor emeritus from, believe it or not, a California university. But back in the old days when actually they taught stuff. And he was telling Mark last night, there's hardly any hope for America's universities. Now, we're going to have to pretty much start over because this is what's poisoning our society right now. And it's all started at our universities.
Can't Congress or these state legislatures at least make an effort to get their hands around what's taking place? What do you think of that?
Well, no, you're right. The state legislatures is one of the places where you might expect some activity. There is some activity going on in a few states, North Carolina, Florida, but not enough. And even in red states where there's large Republican majorities, like Idaho, there's not much going on. There ought to be a lot more going on. But basically what people need to grasp is that money is being given to these campuses for the purpose of education, and that money is being taken by radicals and used for something completely different. So, you know, they're hired to do a certain job. They want to do a completely different job. Well, that's embezzlement. I mean, they're taking money on false pretenses. The job they want to do is to complete their project of completely transforming the country so that it's in their image, their radical political image. Although, I mean, what that would amount to now, God only knows, because everyone knows that Marxist countries don't work. But I think basically the main motive force of those campus radicals is to break down this society. That's their first goal. I mean, I don't think they know what they're really trying to achieve in terms of the end goal. But I think that if state legislatures were to wake up to the fact that something is happening that's fraudulent, the money's being used for a purpose that it was not given for, then they could simply get in there, put in new administrators. I mean, it's easy enough for a state legislature to say, we're insisting on a new president of the campus as a condition of continued funding. And once that new president's in, the legislature should lean on him and tell him that anyone who's in a classroom who's using that money, the money he's paid as a professor, to do instead the work of political activism, political recruiting for his favorite political cause, that person should be taken out of that classroom. Tenure shouldn't protect someone who's hired to do one job but does something that is not authorized. That's in a sense, that's not doing the job you're paid to do. Legislatures could easily say that. But the problem we have, I think, is that public attitudes are lagging behind reality. I mean, an awful lot of people have fond memories of their time on college campuses. You know, they think 30 years ago, they had a wonderful time as an undergraduate at Harvard or Princeton. And they just find it very difficult to believe that these institutions could have deteriorated so much. And I find, even talking to Republicans sometimes, people look to me and say, I just can't believe what you're saying to me. And I always respond, well, I don't blame you for not believing it. It is almost incredible, the degree to which these places have gone bad, in fact. But what we ought to do is be more public relations on this issue. I mean, the public has got to be brought up to speed.
And once again, I no longer donate to my beloved Ole Miss because I don't like what that things have deteriorated there. But it is just I do donate to Hillsdale College, though.
Yeah, even me going to a university, it was I didn't even want to pay for the education, honestly, because it was so terrible. I had to take 2 feminism classes, which was ridiculous, for a communications degree. And
please tell me what that was about.
oh my gosh, it was horrible. It was, I mean, we had girls in there that probably still lived with their parents. They were 20 years old. I was a little bit older student than most of them and had worked in corporate, but they basically were like, yes, the reason that, we can't get ahead is because of the men. And I'm just, it was an interesting couple of semesters for me. It was difficult for me to get through that, but Are
boys allowed to take those classes?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
How many guys in the class?
Yes, they don't say much.
Oh.
Yeah, they kind of stay out of it. But, there were a lot of private conversations I had to have with professors because I was like, I've got to pass this class, but I am not buying into this. So it was a little rough, but, I got my degree from the University of Utah.
Okay.
And you would think that University of Utah, yeah, I passed all my classes.
Okay.
University of Utah, you would think would be a little bit more conservative.
Boy,
but,
you would.
It is not. So
sorry to hear that.
They're entrenched in every university. So Lizzie Warren says UGA has some very radical professors. Mary McCann Hyber says tenure should not be protecting teaching evil. Yes.
Exactly.
And then Steve Stanton Sr., I'm glad you watch Fox so we don't have to. I prefer to listen to Levin on the radio.
Okay. All right.
So there you go.
It is almost a free country, so you're welcome to do that. And I'll watch it because you don't have to.
Yes.
All right. Coming up next, going to take care of some of your financial inquiries and how you can start saving for the future, because there will be a future. And if we do the right thing next year, there'll be a better America. Coming up next, Travis Chance, CFG Wealth Management, tell you how to handle your money. That's next.
What happened?
Well, when you opened up the Chewy box, you went a bit
bonkers. That's one word for it.
I guess I blacked out. This is the best squeaky toy ever.
Probably shouldn't, but we did get you a few more gifts.
Honey.
Ooh, there's more.
Chewy's prices were so great.
You don't need to explain yourself, Linda. Keep on saving.
Pets aren't just pets, they're more.
Well, I hope I got a leaf blower this year.
You got a turtleneck.
Unwrap the excitement this holiday season with great deals from Chewy.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit. Welcome back to Get Real America. Time once again to talk to our good buddy Travis Chance on what's going on financially, and with the Christmas season here, maybe we can tell you how to can save some money, get some money, and get some advice. Travis, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is what do you when people come to you and they say, my family, maybe they've had a former financial advisor that they didn't wasn't successful for them. Like my wife and I had one time who suggested during the recession in 2008 when the Dalai Lama was in charge, said, why don't you take your money out of the market for a while and we'll put it over here and it'll just collect some interest over here. It cost us a bundle. What are you hearing from your people?
Bill, we don't get that
Oh, good.
because as you know, when we build portfolios to weather those types of storms, and
Mhm.
the reason being is, case in point, we had 3 months where the market it was worse than the banking crisis. This is recently, right?
Mhm.
Worse than the banking crisis. The market just continuously going down 3 months in a row, and everyone's like, "Oh my God!" And their Chicken Little on their shoulder started getting involved. They're like, "Hey,
Mhm.
what do I do?" Well, if they did what you did previously, because that's what you were advised to do, because there are a lot of advisors, I hate to say this, that are prone to that type of thinking. They have missed about 10 to 12% in the last 4 weeks, right? You don't do that.
Yeah.
If you don't build your portfolio so that it's something you can ride in pretty much any environment, then you're going to have those types of whipsaw events. So we actually don't have that. My phone did not ring during that 3 month period with clients panicking. It was more of thank you for recommending what you did.
Mhm.
So I really don't know what to say to that because that's just not our experience. That's not what we get. So,
Mhm.
but I do think that's what an advisor's supposed to do, right? They're supposed to help you understand what your exposure is, what your risks are, and
Mhm.
make sure that your portfolio. It's not just like buying a suit. It's not just something that may fit, but it also looks good on you.
Mhm. And what are the what are some of the things that you're hearing for the clients that come in and say, well, look, I really need to start saving more. I need to take higher risk, even though I'm at an advanced age.
You're more prone to make mistakes than you are to make the right decisions. You
Mhm.
might get lucky, and it's better to be lucky than good, but more often than not, you're not going to hit that home run that you're thinking you are. So that's why you need to start making sure you're planning far enough out so you're not forced into that box.
When something like this occur, you have these advertisements all the time. We always talk about the advertisements for precious metals, but there's also investment in oil futures and things of that nature. And they'll tell you at the end, there's a disclaimer that said, this is put in money that you can risk. They're asking for like maybe a $4,000 or $5,000 minimum donate or investment, and said, but you could lose any or all of it.
Mhm. Bill, I have actually had clients this year. It's funny you say that. That previously were convinced by the charlatans and by the snake oil salesmen to do some of those things that have come back and said, "I made a mistake. I'm now down X%. Will you take us back?" I've had that happen. Unfortunately, as you know, And just because we're talking about precious metals, everything that shines isn't gold.
Hmm.
And same thing with oil. Everything sounds great until it's not. And I do agree with what you just said. Everything in moderation, right? If it's something you have 5%, 2%, 3%, small percentage of your portfolio that you want to dedicate to something like that to try to get some additional return, I'm not going to stop you. But what I am going to say is this: if you're trying to use that, like you said previously, trying to make up that ground because you haven't saved enough, or if it's used for one of those purposes, I think more often than not you end up regretting your decision. So we try to help clients have realistic expectations, realistic market volatility views, so that they kind of understand all sides, because it's not always going to be up. Sometimes it's going to be down. You got to be prepared to take both.
We had last week we talked about how the big how things were going on Black Friday, and that it was better than expected and things of that nature, and people are buying more. It looks like for this Hanukkah and Christmas season. But how does it look going down the home stretch here with Christmas only less than 3 weeks away, and with the New Year less than a month away?
Bill, you know me.
Yeah.
If my best quality is my worst quality. If you ask me a question, I'm gonna give you an answer.
Yep.
Honestly, I am more encouraged now than I have been in a while.
Good.
I do think I do think that we were grossly over pessimistic for most of this year. This has been one of the most hated recoveries and hated markets coming out of a bear market. Just because of what interest rates have done in a long time. Uh, Not every time the yield curve inverts does that mean we're going to have a recession. I think, what's the expression? The Fed or the they've yield curve has was it forecast 12 of the last 6 recessions. Doesn't always mean it's going to be doom and gloom. I really think that we've got a lot to be optimistic about going into next year. I think earnings are actually better than we expect. Now you're still going to have the chicken littles. You're still going to have those out there that I read this morning, like Bob Dahl and some of these guys that make billions of dollars,
Hmm.
but they're wrong more than they're right, which I guess, hey, in baseball, you got to do is bat 300, you're in the Hall of Fame. So maybe that's what they do, is they hit a lot more, swinging a lot more pitches.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I'm more optimistic than I am pessimistic. I think next year could be a really solid year if interest rates continue to fall. Not They're not going to go back from 4.1 on the 10-year to 2. But I do think if it comes down incrementally, stays where it's at, earnings are projected to come in 11 and a half on the S&P. I think next year's a solid year. What worries me is the election.
Hmm.
And you can't worry about and make investment decisions today based on what you think the election results are going to be, because we don't know. I think when the election happens, win, lose, or draw, whatever happens, that's when you have to make the decision of, okay, this is likely to be something that this party or that party goes after. Is that going to be a substantial change to what we're doing? If it is, you make adjustments. If it's not, you don't. And I think that's the way people have to look at it: is don't get overly optimistic, don't get pessimistic, be realistic about your situation, and a lot of times you'll end up on the right side of the equation.
And I know a lot of times people are still reluctant maybe to come forward, or they're embarrassed that they've had bad experiences in the past with investments and things. What can you tell them to assuage their fears and say, at least come on in and talk to us?
So, Bill, this is once again, this may be a Travisism, but an error is not something you should be embarrassed about.
Hmm.
When you identify an error and you choose to do nothing, or you keep doing the same thing, that's an irreparable mistake. Don't let your errors become irreparable mistakes. If you identify that maybe you haven't done something, or done the job that you feel you could have, or maybe it's not as efficient as you think it is, well, I don't pull my own teeth. I am humble enough to know I need to go to a dentist, right? I don't cut my own hair, even though it probably looks like it. I know I know what my shortcomings are, and
Yeah.
that's the reason why you have professional guidance to help work through these types of events, work to better your situation. And all I can say is, folks, there are those of us out there that our job is to try to add value every time we meet or get together, and that's what you need to be looking for in an advisor, Bill. And that's what I hope you and I know you and Miss Pam have found, and that's something that we don't take lightly.
That's for sure. So how do people do this?
Absolutely, Bill. If they have questions, all they got to do, once again, reference that you heard us on Bill's show. Ask us anything. 20 minutes on me, and we will at least get your questions answered. And that's the other thing.
Hmm.
It doesn't cost anything to ask a question. And just like if you have a couple of items that are really gnawing at you, don't let that ruin your Christmas season. Don't let that turn into a Grinch. Give us a call. Let us help you get back on the right track so you and your family can have the holiday you want and the retirement that you deserve. 877-269-0839.
All right, check it out. And Travis, have a great Christmas. We'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, Bill. Be safe. Thanks.
You too. Bye.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Good Monday morning. Here it is, the 11th day of December already. 2 weeks away from Christmas Day.
Yes, exciting stuff. If you haven't been out to the Christmas market at Plant Riverside, it is a great little market, and there's a lot of like homemade gifts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got and we've got lighting, all sorts of things going on at the bamboo farm. So check out all the Christmas decorations, and if you have some Christmas decorations that you want to send us, by all means do so.
Yes, and Steve Stanton Sr. says, sounds like Travis is not a buy high, sell low type of fella.
No, he's not. No,
he sounds a little bit more thoughtful than some of the traders that we've.
Without a doubt, and he's not gonna blow smoke, and he's going to tell it like it is. He is, and he is my wife and I's personal financial advisor, so I can highly recommend him. And he's not going to send you tell you about specific stocks or anything like that. As he said, he builds a portfolio, and one of the things that he does, unlike the last guy that we had that I mentioned earlier, that cost us a lot of money by taking money out of the stock market for a while. That was stupid. He said we build portfolios to weather that sort of thing. One stock may go down while another goes up. But people make money in the bear markets too, as well as the bull markets. So it all depends on just how you invest. And these are people that look at that study this all the time. And it's like you said, you usually don't do your own haircuts. You don't do your own. You can't do your own brain surgery. Just use a mirror. That sort of thing. You go to the experts. Okay, so that's our recommendation to you. Call him up. It won't cost you a thing for a 20-minute advisory. So for goodness sakes,
talk to Travis. He will help you out.
Yeah. As they say, it's pretty smart use of 20 minutes.
Yes. Well, going back to what's going on in the country, illegals still making their way into this country. Chicago, kind of the
carload.
Yeah, well, it's starting to be ground zero with a lot of the encampments they have. They were at a precinct. They've now moved people into a warehouse. Ben Berkbaum was up there over the weekend, and it's a disaster up there.
Yeah, so things ain't getting any better.
So another stop here on this journey across Chicago, showing you the impacts of the border coming up here. Over 50 locations. This is the Inn of Chicago that's been taken over, the entire building taken over, basically similar to what we saw in New York with the Row Hotel and the Roosevelt Hotel. This is one block from the Magnificent Mile on Michigan Avenue, one of the most famous, costly pieces of real estate in Illinois, right here, all taken over by the city with your tax dollars for illegal immigration. And the same thing, very similar to what we see in New York. You got all the people out front. Just starting to get cold. ¿De dónde son? Venezuela? 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 So the same school buses, they're using these old school buses to transport. These are basically, instead of a city bus, they get private shuttles to take them around. Basically, they come from the airport. Some of them stay at the airport. Some of them are then transferred to other locations. We've got some luggage out front. So somebody just flew in to Chicago, come across the border, fly into Chicago. You get your private shuttle, these old school buses that they've retrofitted, and they'll bring you right here, one block from the Magnificent Mile, downtown Chicago, right off of Michigan Avenue, to one of these another historic hotels. They said over 1,000 people in it right now. There you go. Mayor Johnson and all of the Democrats in Illinois and across America, you did this. Joe Biden, you did this. So just spoke to some cops off the record, and they said they were actually talking to the bus driver here, and they said they're doing 20 buses per day now from the airport down here, 20 buses per day. Are you with the organization?
I'm a volunteer.
Oh, okay. With Catholic Charities, or is it
just
all of it?
I've gotten involved with a bunch of stuff since I started volunteering.
Okay.
Recording?
Yeah, with media, Real America's Voice.
There are numerous organizations and mutual aid organizations that are contracted and working, that are either contracted with the city or also that's just their plain mission to help, and so that they are all involved, as well as hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers that are working.
So we just got word from that lady, 1,400 to 1,500 people staying in this building here. She said multiple mutual aid organizations all behind this, all profiting off this. Government just admitted that it cost the federal government $450 billion last year. So the cost benefit is not there, clearly. But the organizations are making a lot of money.
And over 56 illegal shelters are in Chicago alone. I think that is crazy. There's a warehouse that is housing over 2,700 illegals at one time. The problems in Chicago are not going well, but could go well for a Republican if they decide to run, because people have had enough.
20 bus trips a day. And then they have their own private shuttles, the old school buses.
Oh, but wait. But wait, it gets worse. Oh. It gets worse. So while our veterans suffer and they are not getting the help they need, the Veterans Affairs seems to think that it's their responsibility to take care of illegal immigrants.
Huh.
America's veterans calling out the VA's role in processing medical care for illegals who are entering the country, while those who risk their lives for our freedoms still wait to be treated. Our next guest is demanding answers from the Biden administration. Republican Congressman Mike Bost is the chair of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. He joins us now. Mr. Chairman, thanks for being here. I know you're very passionate about this issue and proactive. So VA denies they're doing this. They always do that. And they say they're just a middleman for care that illegals need. Yet we also know that they're denying in many places access to community care for vets. So why are we facilitating care for illegals, but not being as robust as we can for community care for veterans?
Well, first off, Pete, thank you for having me on. And let me tell you, thank you for continuing after this. We all know that President Biden has called this border problem. They can claim that it's not him, but it is him. I was just on the border last spring and dealing with the veterans who are actually Border Patrol agents and making sure they were receiving the services they need. But it just came to us in October, this brave whistleblower who's a border agent that came and said that VA was paying for health care. And I still don't have all of the facts, but it appears VA is not directly providing to the immigrants. It seems VA is a middleman between the Department of Homeland Security and the hospitals. But the Biden administration has to answer to taxpayers and Congress. And as of yet, the VA has not answered to us. So we're still continuing to aggressively go at this. VA resources should always be directed to the veterans, period. And I believe that we must expand the improve VA care in the community to ensure veterans and health care that they need, they're receiving it. And it's not being siphoned off to this border problem that was not caused by these veterans. Matter of fact, there's many veterans, as I said, that are working as Border Patrol agents right now, and they need to make sure that we provide for them.
I should have told them at the VA that I was an illegal alien.
I know. They would pay for everything. Imagine that. I do think that we're seeing things get worse. Hopefully the American people wake up. I think there's probably only 5 to 10% of us that are awake to what's going on. Lizzie Warren said, also help Travis help you by voting Republican.
Yeah.
I like that.
Excellent point.
Yes. And Lizzie Warren says, I'm beginning to think these hotels are due for renovation and are allowing illegals to use the hotels, premium rates, and a free reno. You never know. Mary McCran Hybrider says, your tax money at work? I don't remember voting for this. Neither do I.
Well, that's the whole problem, is that you have these bureaucrat idiots that are not elected. They're nameless and faceless, and you never see them. You never know what they're doing. But as he said, $450 billion last year for illegal aliens. What could we have done with that money on the space program? With improving our schools, paying teachers who actually teach real stuff.
Actually, what the government is supposed to do, infrastructure.
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but I'm sick of
this
sitting in
infrastructure
traffic.
that we keep hearing needs to be improved all the time, and that we need high-speed rail and all this other stuff. I'm all for high-speed rail, whatever, but at the same time, we could be doing that. I've always said that maybe we ought to have all of our major airports hooked up with high-speed rail, that if the weather's bad and the planes can't take off over here, you can get on the train and go to your destination, or go to an airport where the planes are taking off.
Maybe. My whole thing is they need to cut spending. So whatever you're spending money on, you have to sacrifice. So if you want to do a high-speed rail, great. What are we giving up for that? And Lizzie Warren says, anytime the VA spends on illegal aliens, it's taken away from the United States veterans. And then Steve,
slap in the face. Well, this is the thanks that we get for serving our country, and you're ignored by the people who actually sent you into battle.
Yeah, and Steve Stanton Sr. says, did he say the cost of federal government is $450 billion?
That's what he said.
It costs them nothing. It costs us, the taxpayer. You are absolutely correct. And I think that's the other thing that we need to start connecting the dots for people is we pay for this. The one thing that I would get rid of with the IRS is that there's no automatic taxes coming out of your check. You need to write a check at the end of the year. There would be riots in the streets if we had to do that.
I've always advocated, and that's what the fair tax is all about.
Yeah.
That we would have tax reform the day that they said you have to pay your taxes each month by check or automatic bank draft or whatever, but you have to pay the federal government, you have to pay the state, the county, and the city, and see how much money you're actually paying. When you get your entire check, and then you have to sit down and write checks to the government, that's when we'd have tax reform.
And don't forget your property taxes.
Yeah, and that's when we'd have the fair tax go into effect almost immediately.
Yes. And Lizzie Warren says $450 billion is not even close to real cost. Every single school system spends thousands of dollars on the children of illegals. You're absolutely right. I know that we are having a huge influx here in Chatham County, and they are also demanding that we have interpreters at every school.
No.
So,
no. Tell them to learn English, or you don't go to school. Or you can sit there in class and twiddle your thumbs, whatever it is. Sooner or later, you learn the language, especially if you're immersed in it. Once again, I'll go back. I know I've told this till you're probably tired of hearing it. But when I was in the 4th grade at Jacob G. Smith, kid comes in from Brazil. He could say, "Please, thank you, may I go to the bathroom?" Things, little basic things like that. Within a couple of weeks, he was beginning to talk to us, and within 3 months, he practically mastered the language.
Well,
didn't take long.
As if it couldn't get any worse, Sheriff Lamb is also sharing with us
what
dollar amount people are actually getting when they cross that border.
This is from Pinal County, Arizona.
We see all these people coming across, mostly military-age men coming from China, from Africa, from all over the world. Most of them not even being vetted when they come in here. But here's what's really going to bother you. When these folks come across and they're processed, they're being given a cell phone, a plane ticket to wherever they want to go in this country, so probably to a community near you, and a $5,000 Visa card. So while this Christmas season, you're struggling to keep your lights on, while you're struggling to pay your rent, put Christmas presents under the tree for your kids, we have our government giving people that came into this country illegally $5,000 gift cards. That's the truth, folks. God bless.
So he is running for Senate in the great state of Arizona. Arizona is a disaster, but they are a really good state. They are very much like Georgia. A lot of freedom-loving patriots there, and hopefully he wins his race along with Carrie Lake.
Yeah, didn't the governor of Arizona just go to the border the other day and see how bad things were and started whining and crying about it?
Yeah, she said that this is a nonpartisan issue.
Yeah, sure.
That's what she said.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, congratulations.
Katie Hobbs.
The illegal governor of, she knows she's an illegal governor.
Oh, yes. That's why she's been in hiding since she was elected.
That's right, yeah.
Elected. But Lizzie Warren says, who funds the Visa cards? And then Mary McCann Hybrider said, Lizzie Warren, our tax dollars, again. That may be the answer to our show all day today. Wait, there's more, and you're paying for it, the taxpayer. So
that's right.
Very exciting stuff going on. I'm a little bit nervous about how many people are coming over. I believe that we are having anywhere from 10 to 15,000 people coming over a day. A lot of military-age men, which I think is frightening, especially when we have Dick Durbin last week talking about how we should allow those men to be in military service, and then we give them their citizenship.
Good old Dick Durbin. Yeah, he was looking out for America once again. Let's put the illegal aliens in the military. You think they're going to obey? You think they're going to obey their DIs? You think they're going to obey their officers? Are you kidding?
Well, I think that's a disaster.
It's an absolute disaster.
There was a man from Utah that was training. I believe he was in Iraq. He was training some of the military forces there, and guess what happened? He was killed by the people he was training.
Yeah.
We put him in harm's way, and it never should have happened. He was a father of 5 children. It was very devastating for the community in Utah.
How many times have we heard over the years, when we were in Afghanistan or elsewhere, of all of a sudden these guys that we were training suddenly pull out a rifle or something and kill their trainers?
Yep. We do not learn lessons very well here, Bill.
Doesn't sound like it.
No, and. These illegals coming over the border, it's costing so much money, and we haven't even seen the realized amount of what that's going to be, especially when you consider that in the last 90 days, we have accrued $1 trillion worth of debt. That's in the last 90 days. We are paying so much interest on the debt that we will not be able to pay this off if we don't get a handle on it. So very big issues, Bill, here in the country, and us throwing money at the illegals has not even been accounted for in our debt.
Gordon Chang was on, an expert on China, was on with Laura Ingraham last week on the Ingraham Angle, and he said that all these well-dressed young Chinese guys, of soldier-bearing age, are pouring into the country, and they are bringing in God knows what with them. Maybe for some terrorist attack, and what they're doing in infiltrating. And there was just a report last night of a consortium with the with the illegal aliens, along with the cartels, of getting these high-powered weapons and using anti-tank rounds that will be that will be used in some of these weapons, or armor-piercing rounds rather. That are going to be used in some of these weapons that they are getting. In fact, it was discovered because I think one of these weapons was used to break through the fence. They started shooting at the fence and breaking up the metal there. This is frightening, and this administration is doing nothing except destroying America, and we need to get rid of them.
Absolutely. And Mary McCann Hybrider says, Chinese nationals in our military? What could go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right.
Already prosecuting 2 of them. We already arrested 2 in the Navy just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's not going well.
No,
it's definitely not going well.
Mm-hmm.
But, there are people that do not want us to secure the border, and they live right here in this country, and they sit up there in Congress. And we'll be talking about that when we get back.
That's next. Stay real.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this Monday morning, 11th day of December, 2 weeks out of Christmas, and hope you're going to have a good one. Keep those folks in Tennessee in your prayers that have lost everything and in fact, 6 people killed, I think, including 2 children, of those devastating tornadoes that touched down there yesterday outside Nashville.
Yes, and there is so much going on in the country, and going back to the border, we have people like Chris Murphy saying that Republicans, they need to give up on this border stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Republicans would argue, many of them, they're not calling to completely shut down the border, but as you say, to make it tougher to get through. If you look at the poll numbers, the latest Wall Street Journal poll shows a whopping 64% of people disapprove of President Biden's handling of the border. Does that add pressure on you, on Democrats, to get something done here?
Well, listen, I'm not paying attention to the politics here. What I know is that the future of the world is at stake. If we fail, if Republicans don't get reasonable in the next 24 to 48 hours, Russia is going to march into Ukraine. China is going to be given a green light to invade Taiwan. The world for my children is fundamentally different under that scenario. The United States security is at risk. So I am just beside myself that Republicans are playing games with the security of the world.
The battery in this guy's irony meter must need recharging.
I just don't know how they can care more about the Ukrainian borders than they do about our own. It's getting really old really fast. I mean, we've seen people in Chicago standing up and saying, you know what, everything's on the table. Republicans, if you don't vote, if you don't support the open border policy, we'll vote for you.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that ends up in Illinois. I know that they're a disaster. I mean, Unfortunately, so is Georgia.
And he
so,
can bloviate all he wants to, but right now they are getting ready to circumvent Congress right now on that $61 billion. And Corey Mills, represented a great congressman from Florida, was on yesterday on Fox and Friends. And among the things he said it's probably going to be over his dead body that they try to do this. They're going against it's unconstitutionally getting this money to Ukraine and to Israel. But mostly Ukraine, and it's just disgusting that we're having to put up with this, and that we're circumventing the Constitution, we're circumventing Congress, and they're just playing games with our money. And if you want to see somebody if he's worried about the world his children are going to grow up in, then maybe he ought to turn to the Republicans for their answers.
Well, and interesting, the Biden budget director, Shalonda Young, also weighing in on the borders and this Ukraine money.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I do take issue with is Americans want their national security taken care of. We agree with that. What happens if Putin marches through Ukraine? What's next? NATO countries. Right. Our sons and daughters are at risk of being a part of a larger conflict. And it's not just Putin, other dictators watching what Congress is doing.
Right.
What signal does that send? So our national security is also influenced with not providing Ukraine.
But she checks a lot of boxes.
So, she goes into the fact that, here's the thing, they're leading with fear. They're trying to make people fearful that if we don't give this money to Ukraine, which we've given plenty of money.
Oh, God, yes.
And newsflash, guess who's running for president in 2024 of Russia? Putin.
Putin.
Yeah. So
I thought he was dying or something. I thought he'd had a heart attack and died or something.
Apparently not. Those rumors are not true.
Must be AI or something.
Yes. And Mary McCann Highbreeder says the question is, who is resident Biden really working for? Mm-hmm. And Lizzie Warren says, I just had a convo with some insiders who said the doom and gloom pronouncements are theater and it all depends on the lobbyist money. That's what it always depends on.
Yeah.
These lobbyists are the most dangerous thing for the country, I think.
Yeah. When she was talking about what Putin's going to do around the rest of Europe, what are these people that are coming across this border that we've got wide open now because there is no border security? What are they going to do?
Well, and how are the Democrats actually going to run on the open border policy of this administration?
How does this help?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Because here's the thing, their voter base are the ones that are impacted by what's happening on the border. When they have people coming in and taking jobs away from them and also taking their government money, because guess who's getting a lot of it? The illegals coming in. And, Mary McCann brings up a good point. Where did all the Ukrainian money go? I would like to know. It doesn't seem like they track our money like nobody's business. You spend over $600, we're going to know about it and we're going to tax you. Mm-hmm. But we're going to send your money overseas and oopsies, don't really know what happened to it, but it's helping them. So we need to keep sending more.
And guess where President Zelensky was yesterday?
Oh, I don't know. Was he begging for money
Argentina,
somewhere?
Yeah. Argentina.
I will tell you know what? The Argentinian president was sworn in yesterday, and it is official. He has taken 21 agencies down to 9. He kept his word. So very exciting day one for him yesterday.
That's what we need here.
Yes, absolutely.
As the late, great Milton Friedman said, I think he was a better economist dead than practically anybody alive now. Once said, he said, you could take any 3 letters out of the alphabet and it's probably a government agency that ought to be eliminated.
Absolutely right. And Bill, we're headed into 2024. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a wild year. J.D. Vance was actually in town over the weekend at the GOP President's Dinner with Josh McCoon and Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. And he managed to make the Sunday shows as well. But Jake Tapper, I think, is giving us the indicator of what they're going to try and get the Republicans on, because we're terrible at messaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to protect as many unborn babies as possible. I also think we have to win the trust back of the American people. And one of the ways to do that is to be the truly pro-family party. I think we are we've got to carry that message forward and actually enact some public policy to that effect.
Is birth control part of that policy, empowering women to be able to make those decisions before they get pregnant?
Look, obviously people need to be able to make those decisions. I don't think that I know any Republican, at least not a Republican with a brain, that's trying to take those rights away from people. But I think it goes deeper than that.
I mean, I could provide a list for you if you wanted.
Well, okay, not anybody I talk to, Jake. But look, I think the more important question is, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of young families who want to have babies. They can't afford mortgages.
Yeah.
They're terrified about healthcare expenses. We've got to answer those questions for people. We've got to have a role to play because, look, we have a real problem in this country. Not enough American families that want to have children are able to do it. That's how you destroy a nation.
I thought he was very good on Jake Tapper this weekend. But one of the things they're going to try and get us on, Bill, which they always do, is this abortion issue.
Yeah.
And
why are they so crazy about killing babies? Is what I understand, and that's what we need to go. We need to start talking about. This is infanticide.
Yes. Well, the thing is they're now starting to go after the fact that Republicans don't believe in abortion or don't believe in birth control, which is not true in any fashion. They just don't want you to be allowed to kill your baby. That prevention is a totally different thing than.
And there are ways of preventing it.
Lots of ways, actually. Yeah. But I think that this is an interesting thing that he tried to get with J.D. Vance on because it's not really like one of the big policy issues. I think people care more about the economy because they can't afford anything. I mean, it's something that impacts their life every day. I'm sorry. Us killing our babies with abortion, not really high on my priority list or even in my top 10, even if I'm on the Democrat side.
We need to hear from more of these women who have had abortions and regret it. And so, 12 years later, when they see one of their buddies that has, a child in a child play or, at the school play or something like that, they sit there and say, my kid could be up there. My kid would be this age now. My kid could be up there doing something. Who would my kid be?
Well, I also think we need to do a better job because what I see happening, Bill, is that, while I would never get one, I'm not going to prevent someone else from getting one. But I don't think that we take care of each other when we do that. It's also about education. I think that women should have to understand what they're getting into when they, most of them don't understand what an abortion is or what it does. If you watch an abortion, you will change your mind very, very quickly. Yep. It is very gruesome and terrible. So, but I don't think that
That was Abby Johnson's experience.
Yeah.
And why she was one of the top pro-abortion people in fact, with Planned Infanticide, Planned Parenthood, and was told for years, babies don't feel anything. This is just, it's a fetus. This is just like a tumor or something like that. Not that tumors have circulation systems and nervous systems and things of that nature.
But if it's a bald eagle or a puppy, they would have an issue with it.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing that I don't understand.
And so she goes and she sees one, and she sees this little thing fighting in the womb when this probe comes in, trying to get away. And she experienced that and saw what was being, as the thing was being torn apart, she was just nauseated. And so she's become their biggest rival and their biggest thorn in the pro-abortion side that you can possibly imagine. She's a great lady.
Yeah, and Lizzie Warren says one of the reasons Democrats need to replace their voters is because they have killed so many of their children. That's what also is interesting to me, Bill. There was a clip that was played that was Van Jones talking about how he wants the white Americans to become the minority and that we need to accept it. However, when you have the a lot of the other
Black
communities, yes, killing their kids,
aborted,
it's like I don't know how you square that because there's no way for you guys to become the majority.
Well, that was the original plan of Planned Parenthood to begin with, was to get rid of the black race.
Yeah, well,
and they've done a good job of it, and that's why a lot of their clinics are around the urban areas.
Yeah, and it's just a terrible thing, Bill, but I do think that this is something that Republicans need to get better on their talking points. This is where we get hammered, and they don't have a good way to talk about it, and they aren't willing to talk about it in a way that's aggressive. So Mary McCann Hybrider says it is murder, modern day child sacrifice, evil. But that's how we need to talk about
And
it.
start, yes, yeah, just like the Democrats they talk about how we're losing our precious democracy, okay, and destroying what is
We're a
this country?
constitutional republic for the
We are a
correction there.
constitutional republic, but this is the language we need to start using. It is murder. It is infanticide. And anybody who does this ought to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Yeah, well, sorry to end on such a heavy note today, but remember, for 2024, we need your support. In order for us to move forward, you need to go to thelocalspin.com and support us there. You can become a member, you can advertise with us, or you can just donate.
If you know businesses, suggest to them, call them and suggest to them, say, watch the show, see what you think. I've tried to say this with to the advertising agencies that I've gone to. Just have your clients watch the show. How much money are they spending advertising in the Savannah Morning News? That local joke is unbelievable. It's put up together in Texas. It's printed in Gainesville, Florida, and that's brought in here. Their slogan is "Yesterday's news tomorrow." It is pathetic that we don't have. You call the Savannah Morning News right now and try to ask to speak to somebody, okay? And see what you get other than the robot that answers or the AI person that answers. And their circulation is around 9,000. We have over 12,000 in our viewership. You do the math, and we'll see you tomorrow. Stay real.
Have a good day.